I was born into a large family in the mountains of Montana. I grew up on a farm with livestock and crops, and the nearest neighbor was 5 miles away. I had five sisters and one mother, which explains my flamboyant attitude. I was the youngest of my siblings, so naturally I was a servant most of my early life. When we had no meat from the cows or chickens, or no crops to eat, I was asked to hunt. Grouse was plentiful in the area, easy to hunt and good to eat. I used a 12 gauge at first, but it was too inconvenient to get more shells. I switched to a bow and arrow instead. I got really good at it, and after a while, I was able to hit them in the air after I flushed them up. I liked the feel of a bow much more than a gun. When I was 14, my mom told me I was joining the Scouts. My mom dropped me off the summer after my 8th grade year in Helena. I joined Troop 214. We had a troop meeting my first day, and I was initiated with the old snipe joke. I was told we were going snipe hunting, and since I was the least experienced, I was in charge of holding the bag. The other boys were in charge of herding the snipe towards me. We went into the wilderness, and they found a good place for me to stay. They all went back to herd the snipe, and they never came back. After about 15 minutes of waiting in the heat, I became aware that I was being pranked. I came back to the camp upset. "Did you get the snipe?" Doug asked. Doug was my troop leader. They were practicing bows when I arrived. Doug handed me a dinky recurve. Its pullback was minuscule and didn't hold anything to my dad's old bow I used. I found an Allen wrench and tightened it to around 75 pounds. "I think that might be a little much, bud." I then seamlessly loaded an arrow and fired from the side towards one of the targets one of the other boys was using and hit it right in the bullseye. "God dang," one of the boys said. "Did you see how fast that arrow moved?" "Why don't you teach these boys how to use a bow and arrow, bud?" I enjoyed my time greatly in the Scouts and fit right in. By the time I graduated high school, I was able to acquire the rank of Eagle Scout. I joined the Marines right out of high school. I was almost not accepted because of my flat feet and my weird-shaped head. Because I was such a great assistant, I was requested to join the hardiest guys on the toughest missions. One particular mission in Afghanistan I am most proud of. My fellow troops and I were captured for around 3 weeks. One of the men asked us if one of us could make something for them out of wood. I volunteered immediately, and did a fine job. I quickly took advantage of the slight freedom I had. When he asked me to make something else, he didn't watch me. I crafted myself a longbow and 30 arrows. When he came back to check on my progress, he was met with an arrow instead. I took a dirk from him that I had been eyeing for a while, and I found some colorful robes in the closet to blend in. I then went across the street to where my men were being held, and I was able to saw the lock off with my newly acquired dirk. We were able to reacquire the weapons and storm a building with the heaviest concentration of Al-Qaeda forces. We made quick work of the men inside, or at least I did. They figured my bow would be quieter than the M4's. We found their leader, and he asked us how we escaped. One of the Marines said, "You can thank the YoeMen," pointing to me with my bow, long colorful robes, and my newly acquired dirk. After that, I came home and received a Medal of Honor from the President, and married one of the girls I was always interested in, from a nearby troop we sometimes partnered with. We settled down in Montana in a beautiful house and became the troop leaders of our former troops. I was called the Yoeman for the rest of my life. I lived out the rest of my days teaching and training young men to be fathers, soldiers, and teachers like me.